So you should be well aware that I failed the whole end of the year video thing. But I guess here's a start of the year video thing. I can't really talk properly because everyone around me is asleep. Right now I'm up late at night just thinking. And the whole New Year thing got me thinking about the past. I still remember the house I grew up in. The house on the hill. I guess that's why I said on. There's a little hill I grew up on, all the way in the back of the village. It wasn't even technically part of the village, just so happened to be a plot of land that's right next to the village. And if I remember correctly, the neighboring houses just let us in and connected us to the road. It was a dirt road, so it really wasn't that big of a problem. In the later years, it got cemented. We actually got a road connection, but that same year, that's the year we moved out. I don't know, it was a nice house. I love that house. I can still remember the oddly tiled bathroom floor. It was made of tiny tiles with little gaps in between. It was generally rough, but it was a feeling that felt okay on the feet. On the feet. I don't know if that sounded like defeat. I still remember it not having any glass windows. It was all wooden frames in a nice little, I guess you could call it a tribal shape. Seemed Polynesian in a way, but didn't really look Hawaiian at all. It was unique, something I've never seen replicated anywhere else. Half of the house was cement, the other half was bamboo. The entire front portion was floored completely in cement. And from that it was designed to have a large balcony made out of wood. But mid-construction they changed that idea and they made it as a continuation of the house. Sorry if I'm lip smacking, I don't want this to be some kind of ASMR type shit. The other half of the house, being made of bamboo, was entirely unique to me. I never saw any other house designed that way. Although a bamboo floor is rather common amongst most houses in our country, it was so odd to see how the rest of the house was really made up of bamboo. And it was very long-lasting bamboo. It was absorbed with salt water for a few years, I think. I'm not entirely sure if it was ocean salt water or just water with salt solute or salt solution. But either way, it lasted very long and it almost never break. It would withstand the weight of many heavy chairs also made of bamboo, the heavy metal bikes, all of that. That's another thing I missed about living there. The village itself I could bike into. It was mostly full of steep hills and such, but there was a specific road that I would just go off from the house, take a left, take a right, and that right turn would just be one long road. It was nice and level, it was easy for me, and it was nice and wide, and because of that, the wind would flow that way, and it just felt great having the whole windiness while biking. I used to be fast, I used to enjoy the speed, I used to be athletic, I used to be physically active. But ever since I left, no, not ever since I left the house, but in the later years of living in the house, I slowed down. There was none of that, depression type shit. It was nothing about mental health. I guess it may have been mental health, but the way I saw it was just me losing faith in myself. I guess that might be depression. But I guess the better term for it was laziness. I got lazy. I realized, I don't really need to do that right now. And I seem pretty okay. I guess I'll just keep doing whatever else I want to be doing right now. But with that aside, I don't know. It was weird moving to the new house. It didn't have the windiness. It didn't have the big open 52 or 53 hectare space of the hill. There was no space for my dogs to run around, but by the time we moved out, all of our dogs had already passed away. In my earlier years, I would remember we had, if I remember correctly, 2 German Shepherds, a Beagle, and I think a Labrador. I think her name was. I think the Labrador was named Dandelion, and I think the Beagle was named Dahlia. And the 2 German Shepherds were Ziggy and Laika. And their first daughter was Padme. We actually named one of our dogs Padme, the character from Star Wars. So by the time Padme was born, Dahlia had been moved to our grandparents' house, and Dandelion had passed away. In the much earlier years before I could remember, I'm told that we had a smaller white little dog. I have no memories of that fuzzy little thing. I'm told that our family inherited it from my aunt when she moved to New Zealand. But I remember Dahlia when she was much smaller. I would ask my parents if she could sleep with us in their bedroom. There was a small drawer. It was very near the floor, so it was easy for Dahlia to go in and out of it. I would prepare that as her bed every night, and surprisingly, it seemed so natural to me that she would just use that bed without my command. Those were much simpler times. Somewhere in the middle of that, I guess I would have been 8, 9, 10, a little bit when I was 11. It was a nice, simple morning routine that my uncle would do when I was 6. You see, when I was 6, one of my uncles was staying with us looking for work. At the time, I thought he was fully employed, but now it turns out he was going in and out of jobs at the time. He ended up being the guy that would cook my breakfast every morning. He was a great guy. He taught me a lot of things. And that little morning routine would be, we would wake up in the morning. I would wake up in the morning. And yes, there was a point where I threw a glass of water on his face to wake him up. And he was okay with that. Immediately, he was a tiny bit angry. I mean, his eyes were red from waking up so horribly. But the rest of the day, he was pretty okay. And I think I've been installing that routine I'm talking about. Essentially, we'd walk. You see, when entering our property, you'd take a left, and it would be some 35 meters towards our house. This would be the driveway where we would park most of our cars. We would usually have 1 or 2 at a time, and in the odd case that we had 3, we would turn right. Turning right was where the workers would sleep. You see, the plot of land we lived on was big enough that we had a large garden, and we had many fruit-bearing trees along the outer edges, in which kids would trespass and steal fruits. Most of the time we were okay with it, but it became excessive in the later years. So coming from our house, it would be a T-shape, okay? Coming from the driveway, going left and going right. So coming straight from our house, we would go towards the worker's house. And we would just go past it to a jungle-like area. We wouldn't really call it jungle-like, but there was much overgrowth. There are many relatively tall shrubberies. It wouldn't be tall grass. It was It's difficult to describe, but there were many leafy plants that acted as some kind of grassy foliage. At most, it would be a little bit knee level, but the best description was the middle of the shin, is how high it would grow. It was leafy and it was heart-shaped. There would be a man-made trail that was simply made by walking there so very often, and surprisingly, it was only us that walked that trail. He would walk that trail for about 2.5 minutes, maybe just 1.5 minutes, and we would make it to the slums, which was very a small slum. It was more of just the backyard of the poorer people than slums, but the trash and the puddles, the mud, the dirt, the smell, it was bad having the chickens around there just pooping. It was quite a description of the slums. In fact, I'm pretty sure they didn't even own that land. We would walk past that. It was connected to an alleyway. This alleyway was rather slim. It would have been 2 to 3 feet in width. It was about maybe 8 or 9 meters in length from the slums. You would have some left and right turns leading to more backways, which were much thinner than that little alleyway itself. It had a barred-off gate at the edge of it. Across the street would be a bake shop that had a great smell from it, but no, that's not what the routine was about. It was about a much smaller bake shop, only to the left. Well, to the right of the gate from when you come out. It was a nice family-owned bake shop. It would make some of the nicest homemade bread. It wasn't that kind of loaf bread now. It was more of smaller, softer kinds of bread. And they say that in its best form, it was crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. Although that was rather rare, I quite enjoyed the nice warm softness it held, the chewiness in its consistency, and how it made for perfect sandwiches. Hell, putting, corned beef in that shit, making Reuben sandwiches. Or putting you actually didn't get Nutella until around, I think I started having Nutella when I was 10. Before that, we had other kinds of spreads. I used to make a little thing that we called cinnamon bread. It somewhat mimicked the concept of a Cinnabon, but I didn't even have an actual Cinnabon until I was around 11. Cinnamon bread was a great thing for me. I'd probably make a video on that if I ever had the time. It would just consist of butter, some condensed milk, and some cinnamon on top of that. And it really tasted great, and it's really a childhood taste. I love that taste until today. And I tried making it again, and it was... Well, we didn't have that homemade bread no more, so what I had to do, and it still worked out pretty fine. Definitely brought back memories. But this whole New Year thing, I don't know, making me think about the past, it's difficult for me to look to the future. The hell could 2019 have in store for me? Would it be worth it? What's the point of me continuing on there? Honestly, I wouldn't really know. That morning routine, I enjoyed every second of it. It would have been around 8 minutes just to do it. 8 minutes at least. Took around 20 if the bake shop was still cooking the bread. And I'd just sit there in front watching them cook. Well, bake. And then I kept telling my uncle, one day I'm gonna open a bake shop like this. And I'm gonna give this bread to all the kids that come by. And then... Many a year later comes high school. 7th grade, we still lived in that house, but around the Christmas time of 7th grade, So when I heard that one of, okay, better phrased, the sister of my grandfather was planning to move back home from America, coming back home. And so we decided we'd find her a house, a house that was in between everyone else's houses, so we could visit her every now and then, or maybe one that was really close to one of our houses, so that in case of emergency, she was right next to us. Or, we could just visit easily, simply. But then, not even sure if I'm recording this thing vertically or horizontally. But yeah. So we finally find a house. It's a nice little townhouse in a village. A rather expensive village, known for having richer people in it. We were not that kind of rich people. Hell, our old house was half bamboo, didn't have a single glass window, and a broken air conditioner. Damn, I love that house. But yeah, this townhouse, it's nice, it's small, has everything a old lady like herself would need. So we're finally sealing the deal, and she calls us, you know what, never mind, I'm enjoying my time in America. Maybe I'll live out the rest of the time here. And we're like, okay, what are we gonna do with this house? And around that time, our old house had already had an extension, which counted as the new closet and such. And so, because of that, we ended up taking that house, the new townhouse. Our old house was falling into disrepair, even with the extension made of semi-treated bamboo, and all of everything just going nicely. I thought I could stay there longer. I thought I could inherit that house, raise my kids the way that I see fit. A house that taught me so much about life. You'd be surprised how much it taught me. It taught me that no matter how big your house is, no matter what your home can offer, it's really the experience you have in it. And I don't know, it's a pretty bullshit way of putting it. I just had so many memories in that house. Reminded me, you don't need the big mansion, you don't need all the fancy lighting, you don't need any of that. And the house was fine for me, all the wind passing through it and shit. In fact, when we got the new house, the backside had a window that was facing an upward hill. Well, facing the, like it's at the foot of a hill. And the window in the back would be facing upwards. And there was nothing but empty lots behind that house. So the wind would come flowing down the hill and into this one room with a big window all the way in the back of that tiny house. And I said, dibs. It was a smaller room, turns out. It was assigned to be the maid's quarters. I had no problem with that. I didn't need much. This was a regret, as in my later years, my dad started dumping shit on me. He would dump like the laptop into that room. He would dump his laptop, my laptop, some airsoft materials, some knives, a lot more things I expected to have. I didn't expect I would have to take care of. All of that responsibility given to me, even though it had nothing to do with me. I was annoyed by that. Hell, I'm still annoyed by it today, but I guess that's the life I live now. And I don't know. This is a very unorderly video, because I'm gonna tell you this. I still think about that morning routine every day. Well, not really every day, more like 5 days a week or some shit. The morning routine was great, and imagining me going, maybe someday with my kids walking to that family bakery, maybe their kids would have inherited it. I guess I was too short-sighted to think that maybe that family bakery would shut down one day. But maybe it would have been inherited the same way I would have inherited that house. And what's even funnier was, well, I was supposed to talk about this earlier, but fast forward high school. Turns out there was a girl that I really, really liked. Turns out she didn't live too far from that house. If I had my geology right, is that it? Or is it geography? No, I think it's my cartography. If I had that right, she was around significantly less than 2 or 1 mile away from me. And it was, I don't know, to me it was a little heartbreaking to think that I'm pretty sure I could have spent that routine with her every few days or so. Who the fuck am I kidding, am I right? It's like, dude, enough of all like that depressing teenager shit. And I'm gonna be real with you, I've been trying to actively avoid that, but it's difficult when literally everyone around me is going through that shit. And I don't know, I want to talk about that, but I guess it's not the time to talk about that. The whole high school transition thing was something I wanted to go smoothly. I wanted to act like a child the entirety of high school, holding on to those old memories of how fun it was to be a child in that old house. But that wasn't the way to go. Just wasn't. That's not how it worked. It's not something. But me being the piece of shit I am, I still did. I held on to those childhood memories. Undeniably, that was a dumbass idea. But I don't care. I enjoy being the childish one among friends. But it's 2019 and it's gonna be my senior high school. Senior year, I believe, is what they would call it and shit. I don't want to grow up. I know there are a lot of people that don't want to. I don't want to mature. I don't want to have to react to this, but this is me trying to hold on to the thought that I can be the child I love being for the rest of my life. Because the whole teenager thing, sure as hell, ain't working out for me. I don't really have a way to end this. I'm not entirely sure how. I just wanted to say that if you're afraid of your future, you shouldn't take comfort in the past, because you're only avoiding the present. A good friend of mine always reminds me, Arthur, those 7th grade days, those are really the days I want to go back to. When I want to tell him this, literally those exact words. Dude, if you continue to fear the future, and take comfort in the past, then you only end up avoiding your present, and everything that's happening to us as a group of friends right now is just so good. And for me, I have to personally understand that I'm not gonna have those childhood memories again. I need to move on. Even I love those 7th grade days, but those are behind me. I need to accept that the future can be tough, but it could also be great. I'm pretty sure it will be great. If not, then I'll make it great. And I hope, everyone understands that too. Once you hit rock bottom, things can only get better. Honestly, don't believe in that phrase. Things are only gonna get better if you put in the effort to make them better. Sure, there's the chance that something external happens and life becomes easier. But are you gonna really rely on that 1 in a million chance? That stroke of luck? That life just becomes happier without you doing any of it? I'm not afraid to admit that I'm where I am now through luck and bullshit. But still, fuck it, am I right? I don't know, for guess it's 2019 and for the first time in a long time, I might actually have to work hard to do some shit. I won't have the same people by my side for the next few years. I'll definitely miss the years that happened. Just cause you shouldn't wallow in your past doesn't mean you should disregard it. You should definitely remember them, but what are the chances that that'll happen again? You've got a future of endless possibility. So, I guess I'll leave this video by saying, if you're ever stuck in that, I miss the past, I'm afraid of the future, I just want you to decide. Make your own decision. Are you gonna avoid the present? Take comfort in what's happened and what may never happen again? Or are you gonna look towards the future and take what you want, make what you want to happen? Enjoy it to your fullest. Enjoy it by doing what you can to make everything better for you. I should have thought this through more, huh? I don't know. I just realized I didn't start the video by screaming okay. Well, I guess that makes sense since everyone around me is asleep right now. By the way, it is like 5:15. I've been awake since midnight. It's New Year here. And, it's now 5:15. The sun's coming up. I can see the sky lighting up a bit. It's nice. I love mornings in this bedroom. They're beautiful. They honestly are. It's the kind of morning I like to spend with a certain someone. Enough of that. Thanks for listening. There's no content in here except the blackness of the night. Well, it's morning right now. And yeah, thanks. Even though this whole thing is a personal thing, I don't really give two shits about uploading it to the internet. I mean, what, 20 subscribers? Who the hell's actually gonna see this shit, am I right?